Welcome back. We have Megan Wade joining us now on the show. She is the chair of the SD73 Board of Education. Great to have you here.
Thank you.
Yes, and last night, school board met to finalize the school calendar for the next year, and it was expected during this meeting you guys would be able to decide, will we go back to a 1-week spring break or will we keep it at 2? And it's not that cut and dry, is it?
No, it's not that cut and dry. We have to file by the end of March every year our school calendar for the next year. We're filing technically for the next 3 years, a 1-week spring break. We did have a 2-week spring break for a 3-year trial. According to our current collective agreements, the terms are a 1-week spring break. The decision last night was to file a calendar that respects our current collective agreement with direction to our senior staff to attempt to open up negotiations for a 2-week spring break so that it can become permanent. Our feedback was clear from our teachers. Our feedback was clear from the parents that we heard from, that they wanted a 2-week spring break. And the permanent way to get that is to follow the process of a collective agreement and negotiate it.
So what does that mean, negotiating? You will have to sit down now and decide by the end of the school year, I believe, whether or not this is going to happen. What form will this negotiating take? Who will be involved?
The Board of Education is for governance, and that was our motion last night. We set the policy, we set the direction. Negotiation is up to our staff, which is operational. So they will be putting together a team to talk to our unions, to look at the feedback that we have gotten, because yes, it was a 2-week spring break, but we had some concerns that also came up and some comments from both teachers and from parents that need to be looked at and considered. Should negotiations, and I'm optimistic, go well, to make a 2-week spring break permanent in the contract by the end of this school year, we have the right under the School Act to change our calendar. So should negotiations go well, should we come to an agreement by the end of the school year, we can file, and next year we would have a 2-week spring break. As it sits now, we are following our collective agreement, and it's a 1-week spring break that will be filed.
And it will be interesting to see how those negotiations go, because in recent polls it shows that 75% of parents prefer 2 weeks, 95% of teachers prefer the 2-week choice. And we had a poll on our 5 p.m. news. The question of the week a few weeks ago was, do you prefer 1 week or 2? About 512 respondents said 1, and over 1,200 said 2. So it just seems to me that all fingers are pointing in the direction of 2 weeks, which brings me to my next question. Where did the 1-week idea come from? It was a financial thing?
That's always been the terms of our collective agreement. When we did the trial for 3 years, we did a letter of understanding. We did not negotiate our collective agreement locally. It was a letter of understanding. The whole purpose was to see, does this work? Does everybody like it? What are some of your concerns? And that's what's happened now. The letter of understanding has ended. It is clear that teachers and parents want a 2-week spring break. So what the board chose to do was, instead of extending yet another letter of understanding, we chose to say, okay, we hear you. You want 2 weeks. The process that we need to follow is according to our collective agreement. It's 1 week. We need to open it, and we need to bargain and negotiate for that 2-week spring break.
When will that take place?
Again, it's operational. So it's up to our unions and it's up to our senior staff. And with a little bit of giggle here, probably sometime after spring break.
Indeed. Now, to turn the table a little bit, or change the topic rather, class size and composition, I understand that was ratified over the weekend. There's going to be some changes. This is good news for our district.
Yes.
There will be some hirings taking place in the next little bit. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yes, we don't have an exact number because we don't have our exact funding or dollars yet. That will be coming out later this week. Our associate director, our associate superintendent of HR, Mr. Shane Olson, Wilson and Trustee Rhonda Kershaw participated in a full day meeting with ministry officials to go over the ratified contract on Friday. So we're having more of an understanding of the terms. We were told very clearly that it is being fully funded. So when our dollars come out to build our budget for next year, and that should be happening this week, that's when we will start to get exactly what our numbers will look like. Currently, our principals are hard at work looking at their enrollment projectives, looking at what they'll need for staffing. We've already started to look at space availability because we know we have pressures, and looking back at what are our plans and options for that. So the next step that we're waiting for is, what is the money?
Yes.
And then we will start building the budget. And in April, our parents and the public will start to see through our budgeting process what that's going to look like. As far as recruitment, we will continue to recruit, as we always do every year at this time of year, because your new crop of teachers is coming out of your universities. So we will be actively doing that, and that whole process will happen according to our collective agreement of post and fill in May.
That's great. And it's great news for teachers here looking to get into the system. It's great news for kids who need more one-on-one attention. When could that take effect? Perhaps in the next school year, where we'd see these new teachers?
According to the contract, yes, we will be doing all of our best efforts to have this done and in play. There are remedies within the contract, because what we have to understand is everything old is new again. So we're using contract language from 2002. Things have changed in the system. Wording has changed. Position names and responsibilities have changed. So that is going to take time and a process. We didn't have academies when this language was in place in 2002. So what does that mean, and how will that play out? So the contract is pretty clear that we have to do our best efforts for October the 1st, and if not, we do have some extension and room to January.
Okay, good to hear about these things. Yet to be determined whether or not we will see the 2-week stay in Kamloops or not, or if we go back to one or stay with one going forward. We'll see how this all pans out in the coming months.
Thank you.
Megan, thanks for being here. More information on this topic, schooldistrict73.bc.ca. We're back after a quick break. Stay with us.